The only reason why Bible translations get updated is money. That's what many of you said in the comments of my recent video about the updates to the ESV, the English Standard Version. I was honestly surprised by how many people said that, and I didn't agree with those comments. I was even more surprised by how many people attacked me personally and said that I was in Crossway's pocket and they were paying me to promote this for them, and that what I was saying was not what I really believed, but because I was paid by them. So let me answer that first. That's not what this video is about, but Crossway doesn't pay me anything. A couple, 3-4 times a year, I reach out to them and they send me review copies of their Bibles so that I can share them because I'm a Bible reviewer. But they do not pay me and they do not dictate what I can say about their Bibles. They have never told me that I have to give a positive review or I have to say positive things about their Bibles. When I talked about the update to the ESV, I did not contact Crossway or speak to anyone at Crossway before I made that video. I did not consider whether or not they were going to like what I had to say. I just shared my thoughts openly and honestly with you. So that's one thing. And so I think those of you who said terrible things about me in the comments need to check yourself. But also, it comes back to this question of, is it really about the money? So many of you said it was just about the money that it forced me to question myself, to go, am I missing something? Because that's not the way that I see it, but is there something that I'm missing? So after I started to get those comments rolling in, I decided to do a little bit of research, and I decided to reach out to some of my friends in the Bible publishing world. Now, I'm not going to name names in this video. I'm going to let them stay anonymous, but I want you to know that I have spoken to several different people from several different Bible publishers who publish lots of different, very popular translations of the Bible in order to get some information about the update process and to ask some clarifying questions and really to say, hey, is this all about the money? Am I missing something here? How does all of that factor in? And so after doing all of that, I am still of the opinion that it's not about the money. And so for those of you who are convinced that it is, here's what I'd ask of you. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I don't think that it's about the money after doing all of this research and having some of these conversations. And just like I was willing to question if I was wrong, I would like you to be willing to hear me out in this video and maybe question if you're wrong about saying that it's just about the money. And if there's something that I miss in my explanation here, you have every right to leave a comment and share that you think I've missed something. But I would just ask you to do so kindly and respectfully, because I'm not an agent of Crossway. I'm not trying to feed the machine. I'm just trying to talk about Bibles and Bible translations and help people find a Bible that's right for them. But I did think that this needs to be addressed after the information that came out. So that's what this video is going to be. The 3 main reasons why I don't think that Bible translation updates are all about the money. Reason number 1 is fairly simple. The decision to update a translation at the end of the day comes down to the Translation Oversight Committee. Each translation has a slightly different name for what this committee is called, but this is a group of scholars who have been charged with overseeing the translation and making decisions if it needs to be updated. Now, of course, those people know the folks who work at the publisher and they know all of those people, but at the end of the day, their decision about the translation is insulated from the marketing team and the sales team at the Bible publishers. Obviously, the CEOs and the publishers and stuff like that have some say and some impact in that, but they are allowed to do their work. And in many cases, the bylaws and the organizing structure of these committees say they can't have outside influence from the publisher. They get to manage the translation themselves. They get to decide if and when it's going to be updated. And so what I have also heard from people who are able to sit in those rooms and are able to be a part of that process is that they're not talking about Bible sales. They're not talking about driving sales for the translation. What they are talking about is prayerfully and thoughtfully honoring God's word and saying, do we need to make some small tweaks here to what we have in our current edition of this translation because we believe that there is new insight or new ideas that better honor the text and get as close to possible as what we want it to say based on the original text of the Bible in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. So yeah, they're insulated from that marketing and sales process. They're doing their work as faithful scholars of the Bible, and they're not concerning themselves with money when they're making those decisions. Reason number 2 is that when Bible translations are updated, several different publishers shared some of their data with me that shows it doesn't actually lead to a giant increase in sales. If you think about this, right, they're not marketing the update. Crossway, the one I just mentioned recently, they did a small article explaining the changes, but they didn't blast that out there. They're not promoting it. When they release, many translations have been updated since I've been reviewing Bibles the last 5 years, and occasionally you see something that says, hey, we updated it, but usually they're just promoting the Bible translation itself, not necessarily the update. I don't see them marketing the update to us in a way that says, you've got to buy the latest and greatest version of this translation. In fact, some translations, a good example is the New American Standard Bible. They released the 2020, but they kept the 1995 in print. This year I have reviewed new Bibles in the NASB 95. So the Lockman Foundation and the people who are selling the NASB are saying to people, if you like the 95, you can keep using the 95 and we'll make new Bibles in the 95. Other translations that retire their old edition when they come up with an update. Again, I don't see them blasting that out there and saying you have to buy the latest and greatest. In fact, one person in the world of Bible publishing told me that when it was time to work on an update for their translation, that they were actually, this is somebody in the sales and marketing world, that they were actually hoping for fewer updates so that people did not feel like they needed to go buy a brand new Bible when the update was released. Catch that really quick. The publisher, the people who were working to sell the Bible said, we don't want it to be so different from the last version that people feel like they even need to buy a new Bible. So there's fewer, smaller updates, which means you're probably not going to really notice it all that much, which means you don't have to buy a new Bible if you already have one that you love and enjoy reading. So I just look at the landscape of Bible publishing in general. This was one of the main reasons why I was so confused that people said it was all about money, because I was like, well, it would be one thing if the publisher is out there going, hey, everybody, you've got to buy the update because we've significantly changed things, yada, yada, yada. I just don't see that. And in fact, when I started talking to people in the Bible publishing world, they were like, yeah, it realistically doesn't drive that many more sales year over year from when an update happens. Coming back to that in a moment for point number 3. And also, we actually like it when there's not enough of a significant change for people to feel pressured to buy a new Bible. So again, I don't see the cash grab in the practices of the publishers, even when the translation update has been decided by the committee. I don't really see that playing into how they promote and market and sell Bibles. Reason number 3 is actually the most fascinating one, and it's honestly not something that I even considered before I started talking to people in the Bible publishing world about all of this. And that's this. When translations get updated, publishers actually lose money. It's true. I talked to several different publishers who said when we release an update to our translation, that usually leads to losses when it comes to profit margins. Why is that? Well, think about it. You have all of this inventory of Bibles in the old version of the translation that has now been updated. And usually what they have to do is sell those off at a loss, while simultaneously they're having to spend a lot of money to manufacture new Bibles, including re-typesetting them because the words have changed or the punctuation has changed in certain places. So they've got to redesign all of them. They've got to reproduce all of them. These are huge costs. I shared in the video when I talked about the ESV update that Crossway has said it's going to take them about 1.5 years or so to fully roll things out and get all of their Bible line into the ESV 2025. That is a huge cost to those publishers, not only in terms of losing the profits on their current inventory, but then putting together all of their new inventory and getting everything updated. And so when we say, hey, they're only doing this for the money, well, practically, publishers are going, hey, we need to get ready because we're going to have less profits when we do this translation update because it's going to cost us so much to get it out there. That's a really interesting thing to consider that, again, I never really thought about until I reached out to them and started asking questions. So there you have it. 3 reasons why I don't think Bible translation updates are all about the money. It starts with that translation committee and their ability to do what they think is best thoughtfully and prayerfully for the text, the translation of the Bible that they are overseeing. And then it moves into the actual work of the publishers and their marketing teams and their sales teams, and the fact that they're not telling us we have to get the latest and greatest update. And also, they're losing real money by going through all of these processes. So I just think it's important for us to see the whole picture. What I find, and I hope you can hear me say this, particularly those of you who might be a little jaded by the business of Bibles, because I get that, right? Selling the Bible, it's a big business. Lots of translations, lots of money out there in the world of Bibles. But what I see as someone who's kind of got an inside look at this, I get to work with these publishers directly. I get to talk to them a little bit. I get to interact with them. I see people who really care about God's word, good people who love God's word, who are passionate about getting it out there so that people can read God's word and have it applied to their lives and that it can change their lives. That's what I see the most from these Bible publishers. I don't see people who are just thinking about money all the time and grabbing as much cash as they can. That's just not the way I see it. And so for those of you who you're really convinced of that, would you take my word for it? Would you try to be a little bit more gracious? Would you try to be open-minded to the fact that even though this is a business and there's a lot going on, that at its core, these are good people who care about the Bible. And these are translation updates that in a lot of ways make sense, and they're really done thoughtfully and faithfully by good people. So I know I've said that a few times, but I think it's really important for us to have this conversation, and I'm glad I was able to chat with some of my friends in the Bible publishing world. Again, if you disagree with me, if there's something that you don't think I've considered, I welcome you to share that with me in the comments. But I do ask that you do so kindly. I have this little button on YouTube that says hide user from channel. And when people get nasty, I click that. And that means they can still watch my videos. They can still comment as much as they want, but it goes into the void. Me, no one else ever sees those comments when I click hide user from the channel. So don't be that person. Be someone who can disagree respectfully and thoughtfully. Let's have some interesting conversations in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and videos like this, then click the like button. That tells the YouTube algorithm that you'd like to see more content like this, and definitely consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I put out lots of Bible reviews and fun Bible related content here on YouTube, so subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.